Welcome to Narayana Online Digital Classes. Today we are going to discuss about the physics question paper shift 1, the third phase. This is the first question. A deuteron and alpha particle both enters a region of magnetic field perpendicular to it with the same kinetic energy. Find the ratio of their radii. The radii of any particle, the radius of any particle moving in a uniform magnetic field will be given by R is equals to mv divided by qb. We know that momentum will be given by under root 2m ke. So, radius will becomes equals to under root of 2m kinetic energy whole divided by q into b. In the question it is given that the kinetic energy of the two particles is same, magnetic field is same. So, we can understand that radius is proportional to under root of mass divided by charge. From this expression we are going to find out the ratio of the radii of two particles. So, here one is a deuteron, other one is the alpha particle. So, radius of the deuteron divided by radius of alpha particle will be given by under root of mass of a deuteron divided by mass of alpha particle multiplied with charge of alpha particle divided by charge of deuteron. From this equation I can say the radius of deuteron divided by radius of alpha particle equals to under root of mass of deuteron 2, it is 2 times mass of alpha particle is 2 times mass of deuteron. So, this ratio will becomes equals to 1 divided by 2 into, when it comes to charge, the charge of the alpha particle is twice the charge of the deuteron into 2. So, Rd divided by R alpha should becomes equal to root 2. Next question. Second question. In the given arrangement, spring of spring constant 100 Newton per meter is compressed by 0.5 meter. The height of the arrangement is 2 meter. A basket is placed at a distance of d such that after projection, ball will fall in the basket. If the mass of the ball is 100 gram, find the maximum value of d. So, you are asked to find out the value of d. So, here this particle is projected, the particle is projected. It is projected because of the compression that is produced in the spring. So, whenever this spring is compressed, here the compression is given which is equal to 0.5 meter. When the body is released from this particular position, initial position A, when it goes to the position B, it will be projected from certain height. The height is given as 2 meters. As the body moves from A to B, the decrease in the spring potential energy will be converted to the kinetic energy, mechanical kinetic energy. So, as the body moves from A to B, let us imagine that at the point B the speed attained by the body is equals to V. So, from A to B we can apply conservation of mechanical energy. So, when I consider the motion from A to B, increase in kinetic energy half mv square is equals to the decrease in potential energy, spring potential energy which is equals to half kx square. So, here half and half will get cancelled. The speed with which the body will be projected will become v equals to, when I take m to the other side, we are going to get x into under root of k divided by m. This is the speed with which the body is projected. Now, as the body is projected, it is moving like a projectile under the influence of gravity. This is the direction of acceleration due to gravity. It is like a horizontal projectile, the body projected from a height which is equal to h. So, the distance that is covered by the object will nothing but this value of d will becomes equal to range of the object. The expression for range, whenever a body is projected with a velocity v, we know that
the expression for range will be given by r is equals to the velocity of projection v into the time of flight, but time of flight will becomes equal to under root of 2h divided by g. Already we calculated the value of v, so here v should becomes equal to x is 0.5 into under root of the value of spring constant is given as 100 divided by the mass of the object is given. The mass of the object is given as 100 grams, which is equal to 0.1 kg. Now from this equation we are going to get the value of v is equals to 0.5 into root 1000, which is equals to 5 root 10 meter per second. We got a value of v. Substituting the value of v here, we are going to get r equals to v is equals to 5 root 10 into under root of 2 into the height is given as 2 divided by 10. Here root 10 and root 10 will get cancelled. Range will becomes equal to r into root 4 will become 2, 2 into 5 will become 10. So it will become 10 meter. This will become the value of d. Next question. Third question. When a disc slides on a smooth inclined surface from rest, the time taken to move from A to B is t1. When the disc performs pure rolling from rest, the time taken to move from A to B is t2. The ratio t2 by t1 is equal to under root of 3 by x. Find the value of x. So here you can see that the body is moving on the inclined plane, it's the same inclined plane, but only thing is the difference, similar inclined planes. The difference is one is a smooth inclined plane where the body is sliding, and in the second case there is a disc which is performing pure rolling motion. Whenever a disc is sliding on a smooth inclined plane, if I consider that the angle of inclination is equals to theta over here, if the body is sliding from the point A to the point B here, as it is sliding like this, the time taken is given is equals to t1. Whenever there is no friction, this body will slide down with an acceleration a equals to g sin theta will become the acceleration. Therefore, the time taken by the body to slide down this smooth inclined plane will becomes equals to, the formula will becomes equals to under root of, if I consider this length covered by this object is equals to the length covered on inclined plane is equals to L, acceleration is known, initial velocity is 0. So if you apply the formula S is equal to ut plus half at square, t is equals to under root of 2s divided by a. So this value will becomes equals to under root of 2l divided by the acceleration will becomes equals to g sin theta. This is the expression for t1. This is the time taken by the body to slide down the smooth inclined plane. In the second case, similar kind of inclined plane is taken, but here the body is rolling without slipping. The same angle of inclination is theta, the body is rolling from the position A to the position B. So as it is rolling down here, let us imagine that it is moving down with an acceleration which is equals to a2. So here also if I consider that the displacement covered by the object is equals to L here, the acceleration of a body is rolling down an inclined plane without slipping will be given by g sin theta divided by 1 plus k square divided by r square. Here k is the radius of gyration about an axis passing through center of mass, r is the radius. So from this equation we can say that the time taken t2 will becomes equals to under root of 2l into 1 plus k square divided by r square divided by g sin theta. This is t2. According to the question, you are asked to find out the ratio of these two values. That means we should calculate a value of t2 divided by t1. When I take the ratios of t2 and t1, all the terms will get cancelled. We will be left over with only under root of 1 plus k square divided by r square. Now, because they are given that this is a disk, for a disk the value of kcm is equals to 1 divided by 2 times radius. So, k square by r square becomes 1 by 2. So, from this equation I can say T2 divided by T1 will becomes equals to under root of 1 plus 1 divided by 2, and then from this equation we are going to get T2 divided by T1 is equals to under root of 3 divided by 2. This is the ratios of the time taken. In the question they given T2 by T1 is equals to root of 3 divided by x, find the value of x. So, we have to understand that the value of x equals to 2. Next, fourth question. When a charge of magnitude q, we have a charge of magnitude q, if we divide charge into two parts, what should be the ratio so that there will be a maximum repulsion force between them? So, here a charge is given having the value q. We are dividing this one into two parts. Let us imagine that the first portion is having a value which is equal to q. The second portion is having a charge which is equal to q minus small q. Now what we are doing? We are separating these two charges by certain distance r. The magnitude of this one is q, the magnitude of this one is q minus q. So for these 2 point charges, the force of repulsion will be given by F is equals to K into the product of the charges Q into capital Q minus small q divided by R square. For a given distance R, this K is constant, I have to find out the ratios of these 2 charges such that the force of repulsion will be maximum. Whenever F is maximum, the derivative of this function should be equal to 0. That means, I can say in case if F is maximum, dF divided by dQ equal to 0. So from this equation I can say K divided by R square into, when I differentiate this equation we are going to get Q minus 2Q should becomes equal to 0, Q should becomes equal to Q divided by 2. That means when we divide the 2 charges into equal parts, then the force of repulsion between the 2 parts will be maximum. So the first charge should becomes equals to Q1 is equal to small q, that should becomes equal to Q divided by 2. The second portion will becomes Q2 is also equal to Q minus small q is again equal to Q by 2. That means the 2 portions should be of equal magnitude. So here again what should be the ratio so that we have charge of magnitude q, if we divide into 2 parts, what should be the ratio so that there will be maximum repulsion between them. So because these 2 charges are equal, the ratio should be 1:1. Fifth question. 4 planks are arranged in a lift going upwards with an acceleration 0.2 meter per second square as shown in the figure. Find the normal reaction applied by the lift on 10 kg block, G is equal to 9.8 meter per second square. We can solve this problem either with respect to the frame attached to the lift or with respect to the frame attached to ground. So if I am solving this with respect to the frame attached to the lift, floor of the lift, then it will become non-inertial frame. So with respect to lift, when I solve, which is a non-inertial frame, the forces acting on this object is, one is weight which is equal to mg. As this acceleration is in the upward direction, there will be a pseudo force that will be acting. The pseudo force that will be acting will be in the downward direction which is equal to ma. And then at the surface there will be normal reaction that will be acting which is equals to n. With respect to lift, this body is at rest. So with respect to lift, I can say if I take this direction as x direction and then if I take this direction as y direction, sum of the forces sum of the forces acting along y direction is equal to mass into acceleration along y direction. With respect to lift, it is at what? Rest. That means the normal reaction will be balanced by mg plus the value of pseudo force will becomes equal to ma. Therefore, I can say the value of normal reaction will becomes equal to m into g plus a. Normal reaction is equals to mass. The total mass of the system 20 kg plus 20 kg plus 20 kg plus 10 kg, which will becomes 70 kg. G 9.8. Acceleration 0.2. 9.8 plus 0.2, 10 into 70. Normal reaction will becomes equal to 700 Newton. Sixth question. For given PV diagram, find the net heat taken by the gas system in the cyclic process. Now, as this is the cyclic process, when I consider the complete cycle, when the gas comes back to the same state, there will be no change in internal energy. So, during this cyclic process, the total change in internal energy will becomes equal to 0. As there is no change in internal energy, I can say the total change in heat energy will becomes equals to the amount of work done. Now, how do you calculate the work done? The amount of work done is nothing but the area enclosed within this PV diagram. Even though, so here, if I consider this PV diagram, even though geometry wise it is a circle, as the quantities and the units are different on the x and y axis, we should take this one like ellipse. So, the change in heat energy will becomes equals to the area. Here, if you take this one like an ellipse, the area will becomes equal to pi into a into b, where a is the length of the semi-major axis, b is the length of semi-minor axis. So, the change in heat energy will be given by pi into the length of the semi-major axis will becomes equal. So, this will become, if I take this one as the major axis, if I take this distance is equal to 2a, 2a is equals to 40 minus 20, 2a is equals to 20, a should becomes 10. The units are liters, convert into cubic meter, 10 to the power of minus 3, into b, even this distance is equal to 2b, which is equals to 40 minus 20 will become 20. And here this is kilopascal, 10 to the power of 3. 10 to the power of 3, 10 to the power of minus 3, both will get cancelled. So, altogether here, when I calculate this value of delta U, 20 divided by 2 here, b divided by 2. So, when I calculate this value of delta Q, we are going to get this value equals to 100 pi. Seventh question. A butterfly is flying in northeast with 4√2 meter per second with respect to wind. Wind is blowing at 1 meter per second southwards. The displacement of the butterfly in 3 seconds is dash. So, here the given velocity of the butterfly with respect to wind is given, velocity of wind is given. You are asked to find out displacement of the butterfly in 3 seconds. That means we should calculate displacement of the butterfly with respect to the ground. First of all, if you want to calculate displacement of the butterfly with respect to ground, we should know velocity of the butterfly with respect to ground, means we should know the absolute velocity. How do you calculate the absolute velocity? Here, according to the question, if I consider velocity of the butterfly with respect to wind, now in general, on a plane of paper, we take the direction like this: north, south, east, and then west. As it is given that velocity of the butterfly with respect to wind is 4√2. This is 4√2. As the direction is along the direction of northeast direction, this angle will becomes equal to 45 degrees. I'll take east along the x-axis, next north along the y-axis. So from this particular diagram, we can understand that the velocity of the butterfly with respect to wind will becomes equals to, resolving this 4 root 2 into components, we are going to get x component will becomes equal to 4 as well as the y component is also equals to 4. So from this equation, from this diagram, we can understand that velocity of the butterfly with respect to wind is 4 I cap plus 4 j cap meter per second. Next, velocity of the wind. Velocity of the wind is given, the magnitude of velocity of wind is given as 1 meter per second, but the direction is given along the southward direction, so minus j cap. Once we got this one, we can say velocity of the butterfly, the absolute velocity is equals to velocity of butterfly with respect to wind plus velocity of the wind. So from this equation I can say velocity of the butterfly with respect to ground is equals to velocity of butterfly with respect to wind is 4 I cap plus 4 j cap. Next, velocity of the wind is equals to minus j cap. So from this equation I can say velocity of the butterfly is equals to 4 I cap plus 3 j cap meter per second. Once we got absolute velocity of the butterfly, you are asked to find out distance traveled by it in 3 seconds, displacement in 3 seconds. The displacement covered by the butterfly, you can calculate the magnitude and then we can multiply with the distance. So I can say the displacement covered by the butterfly will becomes equals to the velocity of the butterfly into the time taken. So from this equation I can say S bar is equals to 4 I cap plus 3 j cap into the time taken is 3 seconds. So the displacement vector will becomes equals to 12 I cap plus 9 j cap meter. Now once we got this one, if you want to calculate the magnitude of this displacement, mod S bar, because they have asked us to find out only the magnitude, so this magnitude will becomes equals to modulus of this, which will becomes equal to 15 meter, will become the displacement covered. Next, 8th question. In the given circuit, find the current passing through 6 ohm resistor. So here a circuit is given where we have 2 cells, 160 volt on the left hand side and then 90 volts here, 4 ohm resistor, 5 ohm resistor and 6 ohm resistor. You are asked to find out the current passing through the 6 ohm resistor. So when you want to find out the current passing through 6 ohm resistor, what we can do is, I can assume like this. Let us imagine that the current flowing through this one is I. This is I. The current flowing through 6 ohm resistor is equals to I1. Next, the current flowing through this one becomes equal to I minus I1. So we have 2 loops. Already I have applied junction rule at this point. We have 2 loops and then we have 2 unknowns. We can find out the 2 unknowns by applying Kirchhoff loop rule for the 2 loops. If I consider this first loop, for the first loop, if I apply Kirchhoff loop rule starting from any point, for example, if I am starting from here, as I am going in the clockwise direction across this cell, I am going from positive, this is positive terminal, this is negative terminal of the cell, I am going from positive to negative. So across that you are going to get minus 90. I am coming like this, across this one I am going in the direction opposite to the direction of current, so plus 6 I1. Across the next resistor I am going in the direction of current, so minus of 5 into I minus I1 is equal to 0. So from this equation we can see that 11 I1 minus 5I is equal to 90. This will become the first equation. Next, I am going to apply Kirchhoff's second law for the second loop. So for the second loop, when I apply Kirchhoff's second law, we are going to start from here. For example, across this cell I am going from again negative to positive. So we are going to get for loop 2. For the loop 2, across the cell I am going from negative to positive 160. Across the resistor I am going in the direction of current minus 4I. Next, across this resistor I am going in the direction of current. So we are going to get minus 6I1 is equal to 0. So from this equation I can say 4I plus 6I1 is equal to 160. 2I plus 3I1 is equal to 80. This will become the second equation. Now we can solve these two equations to get the value of I1. So when I solve these two equations, we are going to get this value is equal to 15.67 ampere. First option. Next question. Ninth question. In the given system, uniform magnetic field exists from x equal to 0 to x equal to b. A rod is first moved from x equal to 0 to x is equal to 2b uniformly, and then moved reverse uniformly from x equals to 2b to x equals 0. Match the quantities with proper curves. So here a diagram is given. There is a magnetic field lying only in a region lying from x equal to 0 to x is equal to b. Now from x is equal to b to x is equals to 2b, there is no magnetic field. So starting from x equal to 0, we are moving this one, and then as we are moving it uniformly, partly it is moving in the magnetic field and partly it is moving outside the magnetic field. So regarding this one, they have asked to match the quantities with the proper curves. There are quantities they have given and we have to match those quantities with the proper curves. Let us see what the curves they have given and what are the quantities they have given. So look at this one. This is a diagram what I am considering. Here if you look at the quantities, they given first one is flux they have given. Second thing EMF. Third one is power. So how do you calculate the power, flux, and how do you draw the graph for that? So what happens is, when you are moving this particular rod toward right side, at any instant of time t, let us imagine that will covers a distance which is equal to some x. So as the time is progressing, what is happening here? It is moving toward right side and the area is increasing continuously. So here, if I imagine that it is moving with a constant speed which is equal to v, actually here this force will be balanced by the magnetic force. According to the given options, we have to go for according to the options given. What happens is, when I want to calculate the flux here, first initially the flux will increase, and this is the region where there is no magnetic field. As long as the rod is moving within the region from B to 2B, there will be no change in flux. Flux will remain constant. When the rod goes to the other extreme and then comes back again while it is coming back from 2B to B, there is no change in flux. And when the rod is coming from 2B to 0, what is happening? The flux is decreasing. So flux should increase first, remains constant for a while, and then it should decrease. So those kind of graph, you can see that it can be only option 3. That means maybe this rod is moving with a constant speed, no other things they have mentioned. So you can assume that it is moving with a constant speed. While it is moving with a constant speed, initially as long as for the body moving from 0 to B, the flux is increasing, because you see, when I want to calculate this flux for 0 less than or equal to x less than or equals to B, the value of flux is increasing. Flux at any instant of time t will becomes equals to magnetic field induction B into the area enclosed. This will become the area enclosed. Let us imagine that this is the rod at an instant of time t. Then we can say, if I imagine that is moving with a speed v, constant speed v, then the area enclosed will becomes equals to, if this distance is x, if the length of this one is equal to L, then what happens is x will becomes equal to Vt into L. So it will becomes L into Vt. So you can see that the flux is proportional to time for a while. Till when? Till the rod reaches the point x is equal to b. Next, after that, while if I consider the rod moving from B to 2B and again from 2B to B, the flux enclosing the rod and the other end will remain constant, Once the flux enters this magnetic field in the opposite direction, the flux will start decreasing linearly. So, the best graph which can suit this value of flux will becomes equal to 3. Later, when it comes to EMF, EMF will be induced across the two ends of this rod as long as it is moving in the magnetic field. If I imagine that it is moving with a constant speed, maybe this is constant speed we will take. So, when it is moving with a constant speed inside this one, initially what will be the EMF of this one? BLV. So, when it comes to the calculation of EMF, EMF is equals to BLV. And then this value will be the expression for EMF as long as the rod is moving inside the magnetic field. So, initially this value of EMF will be constant. Once it comes outside this one, then what happens is the flux will remain constant, the EMF will become 0. It goes to other end and then it will comes. Here the direction of when it enters into this magnetic field, the direction of EMF will be reversed, but again the magnitude will remain constant. I can put here mod E is equals to BLV. So, initially up to a distance from 0 to B, the EMF is BLV. Again, when the rod goes from B to 2B and comes back up to B, there will be no EMF. When once enters here, the direction of EMF will be reversed. So, depending on the sign convention, whatever we take, because EMF will always opposes the rate of change of flux, we can say that the best graph will be this one. Lastly, the power. When it comes to power, we know that power is equals to E square divided by R. Irrespective of the direction of this EMF, the sign of this EMF, power always will be positive. As this power is equals to, when the rod is moving inside the magnetic field, EMF will becomes equal to BLV whole square divided by R. This will become the power as long as the rod is moving inside the magnetic field. Outside the magnetic field, power will become 0. This value is always positive. So, you can say that this will be the graph here. These are the positions still where the rod is moving inside the magnetic field from x equal to 0 to x equal to b. Up to here, it is traveling from x equal to b to x equals to 2b. Later, it is again, x equal to b goes to x equal to b and comes back to x equal to b in the reverse direction. Beyond this point, it will again enter the magnetic field in the opposite direction. So, here this option will go like this. Okay. So, what will be the best option for this one? First one. 10th question. A uniform rod of Young's modulus Y is stretched by two tensions T1 and T2 such that the rod gets expanded to length L1 and L2 respectively. Find the initial length of the rod. So, here when I want to calculate the initial length of the rod, I will consider the equation Y is equals to force applied F into length divided by area into elongation. For the same rod, this value of Y will be constant. The value of A, area of cross section, will be constant. Next, force is changing. Initial length will be same. When these are same, we can say that force divided by elongation will be constant. So, here there are two different forces for which there are two different elongations. Let us imagine that the actual length of the rod is equals to L. So, I can say initially the force acting will becomes equals to T1 divided by the initial elongation. Initially it has expanded to a length L1. So, initial elongation will becomes equal to L1 minus L should becomes equals to the tension acting in the second case is T2 by the final length will becomes equal to L2 minus L. Now, from this equation I can say T1 L2 minus T1 L should becomes equals to T2L1 minus T2L. Our aim is to find out the actual length of the rod. So for that, I'll transpose this term to the right hand side, this term to the left hand side. Then from this equation we are going to get T1L2 minus T2L1 should becomes equals to, when I transpose this term to the right hand side and if I take L common, we are going to get into T1 minus T2. Therefore, the length of the rod will becomes equals to T1L2 minus T2L1 whole divided by T1 minus T2 will become the length. So, if you look at the equation, T1L2 minus T2L1 divided by T1 minus T2 should be the option, or else T2L1 minus T2L1 divided by T2 minus T1 also should be the option. So, I can say this should be the option here, second option. 11th question, if A bar dot B bar is equals to mod A bar cross B bar, find A bar minus mod A bar minus B bar. So, here it is given that the dot product of two vectors will be equal to the magnitude of cross product of the two vectors. Dot product of the two vectors will be given by AB cos theta. The magnitude of cross product of the two vectors is given by AB sin theta. Here, cancelling this, we are going to get tan theta equal to 1. Therefore, theta will becomes equal to 45 degrees. Once we got theta equal to 45 degrees, now they are asking to find out modulus of A bar minus B bar. So, modulus of A bar minus B bar according to parallelogram log will becomes equals to under root of A square plus B square minus 2AB cos theta. So, modulus of A bar minus B bar will becomes equal to root of A square plus B square minus 2AB into cos 45. Cos 45 will becomes equal to 1 divided by root 2. 1 root 2 will get cancelled. So, modulus of A bar minus B bar will becomes equal to root of A square plus B square minus root 2 AB. Option 1. Next question number 12. In a LCR series AC circuit shown below, current leads source voltage by 45 degrees. Find the capacitance of the capacitor. Here it is given that the current is leading. When the current is leading, it will become a capacitive circuit. So, in that case what will happen is, the value of tan phi, if phi is the phase difference between the current and the voltage, we know that tan phi will becomes equal to XC minus XL divided by R. The reason for this one is, here it's given that current leads the source voltage. When the current leads the source voltage, it will become capacitive circuit. The value of phi is given as 45 degrees. So, from this equation I can say, since phi is equal to 45 degrees, we can say tan 45 is equals to XC minus XL divided by R. Tan 45 is 1, so R should becomes equal to XC minus XL. R is equals to, XC is nothing but 1 divided by omega C minus omega L. According to the question, the value of R is given as 0.1 ohm, should becomes equal to 1 divided by omega is given as 300 radian per second into C minus 300 into L. The value of inductance is given as 3 millihenry, 3 into 10 to the power of minus 3. Now, on simplification for this one, we are going to get C is equals to 3.33 millifarad. Option 2. Next, question number 13. A radioactive material having number of active nuclei n is decaying by two processes. One with a half-life of 1400 years and other with a half-life of 700 years. How much time number of active nuclei will becomes n divided by 3? So here there are two processes. There is a radioactive nuclei X. It is undergoing disintegration by two processes. In the first process, the decay constant is lambda 1. In the second process, the decay constant is lambda 2. It is in this process, it is converting to Y. Here in this process, it is converting into Z. The T half in this process is T1. The T half in this process is equals to T2. Whenever any nuclei undergoes simultaneous disintegration like this, the net rate of disintegration is equal to sum of the rate of disintegrations of both of them. In that case, we are going to get the effective value of lambda will becomes equals to lambda 1 plus lambda 2, because the total effective radiation, effective rate of disintegration is equal to sum of the rate of disintegrations of the two processes. Now, from this equation, whenever I write down lambda effective as ln2 divided by T effective, and lambda 1 is ln2 divided by T1, lambda 2 is ln2 divided by T2, we are going to get 1 divided by the effective time period will becomes equals to effective half-life is equals to 1 divided by T1 plus 1 divided by T2. So, from this equation I can say 1 divided by effective half-life will becomes equals to 1 divided by, for the first process it is 1400, for the second process it is 700 years. So, from this equation I can say 1 divided by T effective will becomes equals to 1400 1 plus 2, T effective will becomes equals to 1400 divided by 3 year will become effective half-life. Here they have asked to find out what is the time taken for the number of nuclei to change from a value n to n divided by 3. So, we know that according to the law of radioactive disintegration, we know that the value of the time taken to change the number of nuclei from n0 to n will be given by T equals to 1 divided by lambda into ln of n0 divided by n. So, T should becomes equals to lambda is nothing but ln2 divided by the effective time. So, I can say here effective time goes to numerator, that is nothing but 1400 divided by 3 divided by ln2 into ln of n0 divided by n. n0 is n is n divided by 3. So, we are going to get n divided by 3. This will become ln3 in the numerator. So, from this equation on simplification, substituting the value of ln2, which is nothing but 0.303, the factor will get cancelled in the numerator and denominator when you convert into log 10. So, substituting the value of log 2 and log 3, we are going to get the value of T equals to 740 year. Question number 14. In the given circuit, find current I passing through the Zener diode. So, here a Zener diode is given, a circuit consisting of Zener diode is given, which is connected to a 500 volt source through a resistance of 1000 ohm, and then the load resistance that is connected in parallel to this Zener diode, which is connected in reverse bias, is nothing but the 2000 ohm. So, we are calling this one as the load resistance, and then we have to understand that because these two are parallel, the output voltage will becomes equals to 30 volts. So let us imagine that here the total current that is flowing through this one is equals to I. And then the current flowing through the Z0 diode is equal to IZ, and then the current flowing through load resistance will becomes equal to IL. So here if I can find out the value of I and if I can find out the value of IL, I can find out the value of IZ. How do I calculate these values? First of all, I will calculate the value of I, or else I will calculate the value of IL. So when it comes to the value of IL, the current flowing through load resistance should becomes equals to the potential difference between these two is nothing but the breakdown voltage of the Z0 diode, which is equals to 30 volts. So that should becomes equal to 30 whole divided by the resistance of this one will becomes equal to 2000. So many ampere will become the current flowing through the load resistance. Next, when it comes to the value of I, the total 500 volts will be applied, whatever we are applying, 30 volts is appearing across the Z0 diode, remaining 470 volts will appear across the 1000 ohm resistor. That means I can say that the current flowing through the external resistance should becomes equals to I is equals to 500 minus 30 divided by 1000. Therefore, the current should becomes equals to I should becomes equals to 470 divided by 1000 ampere. We got a value of I, we got a value of IL. So the current flowing through the Z0 diode will becomes equals to total current minus current flowing through the load resistance. The current flowing through Z0 diode is equals to total current is equals to 470 divided by 1000 minus 30 divided by 2000. On simplification of this one, we are going to get this value equal to 0.445 ampere. We will get 0.47 minus 0.015. Subtract, we will get 0.445 ampere. Next question. Question number 15. The wave number of the spectral line in the emission spectrum of hydrogen atom will be equals to 8 by 9 times the Rydberg constant. Then the electron jumps from. We know that the equation which gives the wave number will becomes equal to nu bar equal to 1 divided by lambda will becomes equals to R into 1 divided by nf square minus 1 divided by ni square. According to the question, this wave number is given as equals to 8 by 9 times the Rydberg constant. So 8 divided by 9 times R should becomes equals to R into 1 divided by the final state square minus 1 divided by initial state square. So obviously what we can do is we can verify from the options. It is going to match when the initial state is equals to 3 and then the final state is equals to 1. So therefore initial state will becomes equal to 3 and the final state equals to 1. So transition should be from 3 to 1. Question number 16. A vehicle moving at a velocity v and releasing sound of frequency 400 Hertz, listening the reflected sound from the wall of frequency 500 Hertz. Find the velocity of the vehicle v. So here they are given that the frequency of the natural frequency, the frequency with which sound is emitted is equal to 400 Hertz, and the frequency that is observed after reflection from the wall is equals to 500 Hertz. So let us imagine that here the frequency of the sound emitted is n. This wave travels, it is going to be received by the wall. Let us imagine that the frequency received by the wall is equals to n dash. The velocity of sound is equal to some c. C is the velocity of sound. So now from this equation we can find out the frequency observed by the wall. So if I consider the frequency observed by the wall, for the incident wave, the car will become the source and the wall will become the observer. It is like a source is moving towards a stationary observer. When the source is moving towards a stationary observer, the apparent frequency will be given by n dash is equals to, when both are moving, we know that n dash is equals to v minus v naught divided by v minus vs into n when both are moving in the same direction. Here v naught is equal to 0, so we are going to get n dash is equals to v. V is the velocity of a sound. You can say here I have taken c, right? C divided by c minus v into n. This is the frequency received by the wall. After that, this frequency will be reflected and it is finally again it is observed by the car itself. So for the reflected sound, this wall will become the source and the car itself will become the observer. So for reflected sound, n dash will become the natural frequency, the frequency received by the car will become n double dash. It is like an observer is moving towards a stationary source. So I can say n double dash will become equals to, the velocity of sound is equal to c, because the observer is moving towards a stationary source, c plus with what speed v divided by v into n dash. Substituting the value of n dash here, again here this is c. Yeah. So substituting the value of n dash here, we are going to get n double dash is equal to c plus v divided by c into n dash will become c divided by c minus v into n. C and c will get cancelled. So from this equation we are going to get n double dash will becomes equals to c plus v divided by c minus v into n. In the question n is given 400 hertz and then n double dash is given which is equal to 500 hertz. So now substituting these values, we are going to get the value of, we are going to find out the value of v. So n double dash is given as 500 is equals to c, the speed of sound you can take around 330 meter per second plus v divided by 330 minus v into the actual frequency is given as 400. So solving this, we are going to get v is equals to 36.67 meter per second. Option 1. 17th question. In a magnesium rod of area 3 square meter, current I is equals to 5 ampere is flowing at an angle of 60 degrees from axis of the rod. Resistivity of the material is 44 into 10 power minus 2 ohm meter. Find the electric field inside the rod. So here the area is given, the area of this one is given which is equal to A here, and then the current is not flowing along the axis. The current is flowing at an angle equal to 60 degrees to this area in this direction. So this direction, so if I consider an area which is normal to this one, here what I can do is I can calculate the current density. Now how do you calculate the current density through this one? If you want to calculate the current density, then we can say that current density is given by J is equals to current divided by, if I consider the area of this one as A and this area is equal to S, normal to the direction of current, the area will become equal to S. Add the angle between these two is equal to 60 degrees, this angle is equal to 60 degrees, this angle will become 30, even this angle will become equal to 60 degrees, then cos 60 will become equals to A divided by S, S should become equal to A divided by cos theta. So the current density at a point will become equals to I divided by A divided by cos theta. So current density will become equals to I cos theta divided by A. This is the expression for current density. Once we got the current density, according to Ohm's law, current density will be given by J is equal to sigma into E. Here in the question they given the value of resistivity, rho is given. So I can say J should become equal to E divided by rho. Therefore, E should become equal to rho into J. Let us substitute all the values. So when I substitute the values, we are going to get the value of E is equals to, we are going to get the value of rho. The value of rho is given as 44 into 10 to the power of minus 2 into the current density is equals to I cos theta divided by A. I is given as 5 ampere. Next cos theta, cos 60 is given 1 divided by 2 whole divided by the area of cross section is given as 3. So when I simplify this, we are going to get this will, you can simplify this. So when we simplify this, we are going to get this value equals to 0.367 volt per meter will become the electric field inside the conductor. Question number 18. 4 moles of a diatomic gas is heated from 0 degrees centigrade to 50 degrees centigrade. Find the heat supplied to the gas if the work done by it is 0. Because work done is 0, the heat supplied will be given by delta Q is equal to delta U. So delta Q should becomes equals to delta U is nothing but NCV delta T. Delta Q should becomes equal to N into the value of CV. It is given that this is a diatomic gas. As it is having a diatomic gas, considering only translational and rotational degrees of freedom, the total number of degrees of freedom will become 5. Then the value of C will becomes equals to F by 2R, which is nothing but 5 divided by 2R into the change in temperature is equals to delta T. So delta Q from this equation will becomes equals to N, number of moles is 4 into 5 divided by 2 into R into the change in temperature. Here temperature is changed from 0 to 50 into 50. So the value of delta Q should becomes equals to 2 into 5, 10, 10 into 50, 500 R joule. Option 3. Question number 19. A car is moving on a banked rough road. The mass of the car is 800 kg. The angle of banking is 30 degrees. Car is moving with a maximum speed. Given that mu s is equal to 0.2, find the normal reaction in Newton. So it is a banked road as well as there is a friction. So let us imagine that here there is a road in this manner. The angle of banking is given as theta, which is equal to 30 degrees, and then there is a car. So you can take in the form of a block. As they said that the speed is maximum. When the speed is maximum, then the impending motion of this block will be outwards. When impending motion is outwards, the friction will act downwards, down the plane. So when I consider here the forces acting on this object, the one force acting will becomes equal to weight, which is equal to mg. The second force will becomes equal to the normal reaction, which is equal to n. Now apart from this, what happens is there will be one more force, which is nothing but frictional force. What is the direction of the frictional force acting? As they said that it is moving with a maximum speed, impending motion will be outwards. When impending motion is outwards, then the frictional force will act inwards. And this frictional force will becomes equal to Fs max. That is nothing but limiting friction. You are asked to find out the normal reaction. So when you are asked to find out the normal reaction, what we can do is, first I will resolve this normal reaction into components, as well as I will resolve this Fs also into components. Because this angle is theta, even this angle will become theta, this component will becomes equal to n cos theta, this component will becomes equal to n sin theta. Same way, resolving Fs max into components, because this angle is theta, even here this angle will becomes theta. Here we are going to get Fs max cos theta, Fs max sin theta. Fs max cos theta plus n sin theta together will provide the necessary centripetal force. And along the y direction, if it is not sliding, n cos theta will be balanced by mg plus fs max sin theta. So I can say n cos theta equals to mg plus fs max can be written as mu s into n into sin theta. Our aim is to find out the value of normal reaction. So as our aim is to find out the value of normal reaction, what I can do is I can transpose this term to the left hand side. So in such case, we are going to get n into cos theta minus mu s sin theta should becomes equal to mg. So from this equation I can say n should becomes equal to m into g divided by cos theta minus mu s sin theta. Normal reaction n should becomes equals to mass of the car is given 800, g 10 divided by cos theta. Here theta is given as 30 degrees, cos 30 will becomes equals to root 3 divided by 2 minus mu s, the value of mu is given as 0.22 into sin 30 will becomes equal to 1 by 2. So on simplification of this one, we are going to get the value of normal reaction will becomes equals to n is equals to around 10,000 Newton. Question number 20. A particle of mass m moving with a speed v collides elastically with the end of a uniform rod of mass capital M and length L perpendicularly as shown in the figure. If the particle comes to rest after collision, find the value of small m divided by capital M. So here, this is the mass small m which is initially moving with a speed v. Initially the rod is at rest. Just after collision, the particle is coming to rest and the rod is moving with a velocity. Let us imagine that it is moving with a velocity which is equal to some v. Here initial velocity is given as v, so we will consider that one as some v2. Okay. So I will consider this velocity is u better. So this is the initial position. Just after collision, the particle is coming to rest. The rod is moving with a velocity v. Mass of the particle is small m, the mass of the rod is equal to capital M. The rod will not only have translational motion, but also it will have rotational motion because of the angular impulse. So let us imagine that about this center here, the angular velocity of this one will becomes equal to omega. So now here, for this system, we can apply two conservation laws. What are the two conservation laws we can apply? One is the law of conservation of linear momentum. When I apply law of conservation of linear momentum, initial momentum should becomes equal to final momentum along the x direction. So initial momentum, linear momentum is equal to final momentum. Initial momentum is mu, should becomes equal to final momentum will becomes equal to mv. Now from this equation I can say the final velocity of the center of mass, this v is nothing but velocity of the center of mass. So velocity of center of mass of the rod will becomes equal to mu divided by capital M. First equation. Second thing is we can apply the law of conservation of angular momentum about a point just below the center of the rod. So when I apply law of conservation of angular momentum, initially this particle is moving with a speed u, about the point just below this one, the perpendicular distance this should becomes equal to L divided by 2. So initial angular momentum will becomes equal to final angular momentum. Initial angular momentum will becomes equals to mu into L divided by 2. Final angular momentum will becomes equals to the angular momentum, because the angular velocity is equal to omega here, it should becomes equal to ICM, which is nothing but capital ML square divided by 12 into the angular velocity is equal to omega. Now from this equation, this L and L will get cancelled, this will go 6 times. So the value of omega should become equals to 6 mu divided by m into L. Next, apart from this, they are given that just after collision, the particle is coming to rest, and what kind of collision here they mentioned? Elastic collision. When I say elastic collision, at the point of contact, at the point of impact, the value of E should become equal to 1. So, because the collision is elastic, the value of E should become equal to 1. When E is 1, I can say V2 minus V1 should become equal to U1 minus U2. I will take this particle as the first object, the rod as the second object. Now, before collision, because the rod is at rest, U2 will become equal to 0. After collision, just after collision, because the particle is coming to rest, V1 will become equal to 0. That means I can say V2 should become equal to U1. V2, the velocity of the rod will become equals to now, at the point of impact, it should become equals to velocity due to translational motion as well as the velocity due to rotational motion. At the point of impact, the resultant velocity will become equals to, for the rod, V is due to translational motion, and due to rotational motion it should become equal to L by 2 times omega. Omega will become equal to 6 mu divided by m into L. This value should become equal to the initial velocity of the particle will become equal to u. So now from this equation, here L and L will get cancelled, this will go 3 times. So from this equation, here we can substitute the value of V also. V is equal to mu divided by capital M. So altogether, if I substitute here, we are going to get mu by capital M plus 3 mu divided by capital M will become equal to 4 mu divided by capital M is equal to u. U and u will get cancelled. According to the question, they are asking what is small m divided by capital M. This should become equal to 1 divided by 4. So they are asking the ratio. This should become equal to 1 divided by 4. Question number 21. An object is moving from earth to moon. Choose the correct weight versus a distance curve. Gravitational acceleration on the earth is 10 meter per second square and that on moon is 4 meter per second square. Mass of the object is 1 kg. So here you are asked to draw the graph between the weight of the object as the object moves from the surface of the earth, from the point A to the surface of the moon, which is nothing but the point B. So obviously, as the distance between the earth and moon is very large here, effectively at this point the force acting, the gravitational force acting on the body will be equal to weight on the surface of the earth, mass of the object, here it is given here, mass of the object is given as 1 kg, on the surface of the earth the acceleration due to gravity is given as 10 meter per second square. So obviously at the point A the weight will becomes equals to 1 into 10, that should becomes equals to 10 newtons, right. Now as this body moves from here to here, what happens is there will exist one point where the field intensity due to both of them will become 0. That means, for example, if P is a point where effectively the value of the field intensity due to both of them is 0, at this point what happens is the effective value of G due to both of them will becomes equal to 0. Later, when once this crosses this one, the effect of gravity will be more, because of the moon, and effect of the gravity will be less because of the earth. So obviously what should happen, the expression for weight should goes on decreases, it should become 0 at a point called as null point. Later again it goes like this will start attracting it, the weight due to this one should goes on increases. As it reaches this point B, there will be only weight due to the gravitational force exerted by the moon. So on the surface of the moon, the acceleration due to gravity is given as 4 meter per second square. On moon, the weight of the object will becomes equals to 1 into 4, that should becomes equals to 4 newtons. So from this explanation you can understand that the weight should start at this point, it should be 10. As it moves, it should decrease. At some point, it should become 0. Later, after crossing that point, the weight should act toward the center of the moon and it should goes on increases till it reaches the value which is equal to 4. So, the best option from this one should be the option 2, because at this point on the surface there it is 10 Newton. As it goes at the point P, it will become 0. Later when it crosses, again it will increase, and then on the surface will becomes what? 4 newtons. So, this will be the option here. Next question number 22. Yeah. For a spherical interface of radius r equal to 30 centimeter shown in the figure, the two different media having refractive index n1 is equal to 1.4 and n2 equals 1.25. An object is placed at 40 centimeter from the interface as shown in the figure. Find the position of the image. So, here an object is given like this, the object distance is given which is equals to 40 centimeter, of course sign convention wise it is minus, and then there are two different mediums of refractive index 1.4 and 1.25 are there. The radius of curvature of this one is given as 30 centimeter, magnitude is 30 centimeter. You are asked to find out what is the position of the image form that should be from this particular point which is equal to P. So, how do you calculate this one? As this is a spherical refracting surface, we are going to use the formula mu2 divided by V minus mu1 divided by U equal to mu2 minus mu1 divided by R. So, here the value of mu2 will becomes equal to 1.25 divided by V minus mu1 will becomes equal to 1.4 divided by, as this object when the rays are incident like this object distance will become negative because the object distance is opposite to the direction of incident ray and the object distance magnitude is 40. So, here we should get minus 40 is equals to, again mu2 is 1.25 minus 1.4 divided by the radius of curvature, again this is center of curvature, from this pole to this point it is 30 centimeter opposite to the direction of the incident ray, so minus 30. So, from this equation I can say 1.25 divided by V plus 1.4 divided by 40 should becomes equals to, on the right hand side this value will becomes equals to minus 0.15 divided by minus 30, minus minus will get cancelled, 1.25 divided by V should becomes equal to 0.15 divided by 30 minus 1.4 divided by 40. So, from this equation I can say 1.25 divided by V should becomes equals to 120 over here, 0.6 minus this value will becomes equals to 4.2. So, 1.25 divided by V should becomes equals to minus of 3.6 divided by 120. So, from this equation I can find out the value of V. So, the value of V should becomes equals to minus of 1.25 into 120 whole divided by 3.6. So, now we can simplify this value of V, and then here the value of V should becomes equals to, we are going to get around minus 41.67 centimeter will be the value of V. Okay. This is question number, option 1. This is question number 22. Next question number 23. A ball of charge of mass ratio 8 microcoulomb per gram is placed at a distance of 10 centimeter from a wall. An electric field of 100 Newton per meter is switched on in the direction of the wall. Find the time period of oscillation assuming all collisions to be elastic. So, here they given the charge in the ball which is equals to 8 microcoulomb per gram. it is placed at what distance? At 10 centimeter. So let us imagine that the total charge on this object is equals to Q. There is an electric field applied, which is nothing but E is equal to 100 Newton. So because of this, we can say that the force experienced by the charged particle will becomes equal to F is equal to QE, and hence the acceleration should becomes equal to QE divided by M. This will become the acceleration. The body is moving from rest here, initial velocity is equal to 0. It has to travel a distance which is equal to d equal to 10 centimeter. Let us imagine that the time taken by the object to travel from this particular position to the point where it is undergoing collision, let us imagine that the time taken is equals to t. As it has covered a distance of 10 centimeter here, starting from rest, it is experiencing a constant acceleration. I can use the formula S is equal to ut plus half a t square. So from this equation we are going to get t equal to under root of 2s divided by a. So from this equation I can say the time taken will becomes equals to under root of 2 into the displacement covered here will becomes equals to d divided by the acceleration should becomes equal to QE divided by m. So the time taken will becomes equals to under root of 2md divided by QE. This is the time taken by the particle to travel from the initial position to the point where it collides with the wall. As the collision is elastic collision here, what happens? It will reflect back with the same speed of collision and again it will come back to the initial state. They have asked to calculate the time period of oscillation. Time period is nothing but a minimum time taken to come back to its initial position. So the time period of oscillation will becomes equals to 2 times the time taken for the towards the journey and time taken to come back, return journey. So the total time period will becomes equals to 2 times of under root of 2md divided by q into e. T should becomes equals to 2 into under root of 2 into the mass of the object is not given, but charge per unit mass is given, which is equals to 8 microcoulombs per gram. So I can take that value, that is nothing but charge per unit mass, I can take in the denominator, and then distance is given, which is equal to 0.1 meter, whole divided by q divided by m is nothing but 8 microcoulomb per gram. So 8 into 10 to the power of minus 6 you are going to get in coulombs, divided by gram, in the denominator gram, divided by 10 to the power of minus 3 into the value of electric field. The magnitude of electric field is given, which is equal to 100. So now from this equation I can say this will go 4 times the value of time period is equals to 10 power minus 3 goes to numerator, it will become 10 power plus 3. So 10, this will become 10 square now here when it goes to the numerator here. You get 10 power minus 3 and into 10 power minus 1, 10 power minus 4. 10 power minus 4 in the denominator 10 to the power of minus 6 is 10 power minus 2 and 100 all will get cancelled. 1 divided by 4 root 4 will becomes 1 by 2. 2 into 1 by 2 will become 1 second. Question number 24. A body of mass m emits a photon of frequency nu, then loss in energy, internal energy is a dash. So here they are given that there is a particle of mass m and then it is emitting a photon of frequency nu. They are asking what is the loss in the internal energy. So here let us imagine that here initially a body is at rest. This is a body of mass m, initially it is at rest. Therefore I can say the initial momentum of the system is equal to 0. Later this object has emitted one photon whose frequency is equals to nu. When it emits a photon of frequency nu, obviously this mass will recoil. Let us imagine that the recoil speed of this mass is equal to v. This mass is equal to m. So that means here initially there is no energy, but finally there is an energy appearing in the form of photon and energy appearing in the form of recoiling of the mass. So this total energy should come from the internal energy. Therefore I can say the total internal energy should becomes equal to u equals to internal energy u should becomes equals to half mv square kinetic energy plus the energy of the photon, which is equal to h nu. So from this equation I can say internal energy will become equals to, as this momentum should be conserved, this half mv square can be written as a p square divided by 2m plus h nu. This will become the first equation. Now, because initial momentum should become equal to the final momentum, let us imagine that here I can say final momentum should become equal to initial momentum. The final momentum will become equal to mv, and then momentum of the photon, it is moving in the opposite direction, minus h divided by lambda should become equal to initial momentum will become 0. And then lambda can be written as equal to c divided by nu. So from this equation I can say the momentum of the mass should become equal to h nu divided by c. This is second equation. Let us substitute this value of momentum in this equation. So when we substitute the value of momentum in that equation, the total internal energy that is converted to final energy will become equal. So decrease in internal energy will become equals to p square. So p square is nothing but h nu divided by c whole square whole divided by 2m plus h nu. Now from this equation I can say the decrease in internal energy will become equal to h nu, I can take common, h nu whole divided by 2m c square plus 1 will become the decrease in internal energy which is converted to the final energy. 25th question. Consider an equation S is equal to alpha square beta ln nkr divided by j beta square minus 1, where S is entropy. Find the dimensions of alpha and beta respectively. So here, S is given as entropy, you are asked to find out the dimensional formula of alpha and beta. How do you calculate the dimensional formula of alpha and beta? Here, you have to understand that the dimensional formula of entropy should becomes equals to the dimensional formula of alpha square and beta. So here, if you want to calculate a dimensional formula of alpha and beta, we need one more equation. How do you get one more equation? This quantity should be dimensionless. N k r divided by j beta square should be equal to m to the power of 0, L to the power of 0, T to the power of 0. It should be a dimensionless quantity. In this, let us look what they are. N is number of moles, K is the Boltzmann constant, R is universal gas constant, J is mechanical equivalent of heat, and then beta we have to find out the dimensional formula. So here you have to understand that always K can be written as equals to the value of R divided by Avogadro number. R divided by Avogadro number. So you can say here, see here, I can write here from this equation N K, I am writing it as R divided by Avogadro number Na into R divided by J into beta square. This is the quantity what I am considering. Here this is number of moles. So here what happens is, if you want to get the dimensional formula of beta, J does not have any dimensions, mechanical equivalent of heat does not have any dimensions because it is work by energy, it does not have any dimensional formula. So that means you should understand that the dimensional formula of beta square should becomes equals to the dimensional formula for number of moles into the dimensional formula for R square divided by the dimensional formula for Avogadro number. Okay. Now from this equation I can say the dimensional formula for beta square will becomes equals to N is the number of moles, next R square, the dimensional formula for R square, I will substitute here. When it comes to the dimensional formula of R square, it is nothing but the unit is joule per mole per Kelvin. So the dimensional formula of R square is ml square T power minus 2 energy joule per mole per Kelvin whole square whole divided by next Avogadro number is a number per mole. So here we are going to get mole square. Here this mole and this when I take the square root, beta will becomes equals to this mole square here outside, mole inverse square, this will get cancelled. The value of beta will becomes equals to ml square T power minus 2, this is minus 2 k to the power of minus 1. This is the dimensional formula of beta. Once we got the dimensional formula of beta, next we should calculate dimensional formula of alpha. How do you calculate the dimensional formula for alpha here? Dimensional formula for alpha square into the dimensional formula for beta is equal to dimensional formula for entropy. Dimensional formula for alpha square into the dimensional formula for beta, already we got ml square T power minus 2 k to the power of minus 1 is equals to entropy. Entropy dimensional formula, it is nothing but energy divided by temperature, ml square T power minus 2 divided by the temperature. Now from this equation, temperature is nothing but K. So from this equation we can say that all the terms will get cancelled, m will get cancelled, L square will get cancelled, T power minus 2 will get cancelled, K inverse also will get cancelled, alpha will not have any dimensions, m power 0, L power 0, T power 0. Okay. So the dimensional formula of beta is ml square T power minus 2 K power minus 1. The dimensional formula of beta alpha is m power 0, L power 0, T power 0. So option 3. Next question number 26. The shape of the travelling wave at t equal to 0 is given by y is equals to 1 divided by 1 plus x square. If after 3 seconds shape of the wave pulse is represented by y is equals to 1 divided by 1 plus 1 minus x whole square, the speed of the wave is. This is the equation of the wave pulse at an instant of time t equal to 0. Now what we can do, if the wave is travelling along the positive x direction, to get the wave equation we can replace x with x minus vt. So I can say the equation of the wave pulse will be given by yx comma t equals to 1 divided by 1 plus x minus vt whole square. According to the question, it is given that the value of y at x comma t equal to 3 seconds is equals to 1 divided by, this equation I can also write as 1 plus x minus 1 whole square I can write. So from this equation on comparison, we are going to get Vt is equals to 1, as t equal to 3 seconds, V should becomes equals to 1 divided by 3 meter per second. Option 3. Question number 27. In hydrogen atom, a photon emitted by transition of electron from n equal to 3 to n equal to 1. This photon is then incident on a gold plate from which electron is emitted, which will make a radius of 7 millimeter in a uniform magnetic field of intensity 5 into 10 to the power of minus 4 Tesla. Find the work function of the gold plate. So here, first of all, you have to understand that there is a transition of electron from n equal to 3 state to n is equals to 1 state. So the photon which is emitted from this transition, this is n equal to 1, n equal to 3. As it undergoes transition, let us imagine that this is the photon which is emitted. So the energy of the photon that is emitted in this case will becomes equals to 13.6 into, because it is given it as hydrogen atom, in hydrogen atom. 13.6 into, the transition is from the third state to first state. So into 1 divided by 1 square minus 1 divided by 3 square. So from this equation we are going to get the energy of the photon will becomes equals to around 10.2 electron volt. Transition from the third state to the second state. Now this photon is incident on a gold plate, and then the electron which is emitted, it is making a radius of 7 millimeter in a uniform magnetic field of induction 5 into 10 to the power minus 4 Tesla. So what we can do is we can find out the kinetic energy, because they are asking the work function. How do you calculate the kinetic energy? From the radius we can calculate, radius of the circular path. Radius of the circular path will be given by momentum mv divided by qb. mv can be written as under root 2m Ka divided by qb. Therefore, the kinetic energy of the electron will becomes equal to Ka should becomes equals to qbr whole square divided by 2m. So from this equation I can say the kinetic energy will becomes equals to Q, charge of the electron, 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 whole square. B, magnetic field induction, 5 into 10 to the power minus 4 Tesla whole square. Radius 7 millimeter, 7 into 10 to the power minus 3 whole square divided by 2 into the mass of the electron, 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg. This you are going to get in the unit called as joule. Because this energy of the photon we got in electron volt, to convert into electron volt, divide with 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 will get cancelled. Now from this equation we are going to get expression for the kinetic energy. So we are going to get the kinetic energy of this one around Ke is equals to 1.075 electron volt will become the kinetic energy. Now once we got expression for this kinetic energy, as energy of photon is also known, what we can do, we can find out the work function of this. Okay. So we can calculate the work function from this equation. Okay. So when we calculate the work function, we are going to get the work function is equals to around 11 electron volts we are going to get. Okay. Next question. This is around 12.4 electron volt. So substituting will get 11.01. Thank you.